Welcome to the Fresh Start Family Show. I'm your host, Wendy Snyder, powerful parenting educator and family life coach. And together we are going on a journey to help you expand your heart, learn new tools, and strengthen your family so you can build the family legacy of your dreams. Take a deep breath and get ready to be poured into with some fresh start inspiration. Let's do this. Well, hey there, families. Welcome back to a new episode of the Fresh Start Family Show. We are so happy you are here. Today is a bit of a celebration episode because Terry Snyder, Fresh Start Your Family, is officially out in the world.
Let's go.
It is release week. It is ship date. The day that we've been waiting for years is finally here. And this book is shipping to the hands of families all across the world who are going to have their lives changed.
It's so real. It's so amazing. It's
Oh man.
all those hours and all those years and everything put into one thing that you can hold in your hands and that you can hand to somebody else to bless somebody else in their house. It's here. The day's here.
It really is here.
Yep.
And I thought since we were in celebration mode, it'd be fun to also celebrate 15 years of no punishment in our home. We're going to talk about compassionate discipline today. That's going to kind of be our theme. But my goodness, 15 years, Terry Snyder, that we have been really applying these strategies, and we don't always get it perfectly, get it perfect, especially me. I feel like I'm the one who messes up the most in our home. But we sure have believed in these strategies for 15 years now. We found this work when Stella was 3. And by the time she was 3.5, it took us like a good 6 months to really understand things and start rolling with things. But it's, she turned 18 in November, and she's about 18.5. She'll be 19 this fall as she heads off to college. But 15 years that we have successfully been able to teach our kids important life skills without hurting, harming, or shaming them. And hurting or harming meaning physically, spiritually, mentally. And God, that feels so dang good.
Yeah, and for listeners, who might just be like, what? That's crazy. I remember when we first kind of got introduced to this type of parenting, or just kind of the ways of just like looking at having a relationship with your child. I remember it feeling kind of radically different, a little like confusing, countercultural. I had like more questions than answers. And yeah, I think you always just wanted to know, like, well, is that going to work?
Yeah.
Or is like you
Is
just
this
wish you could
Kool-Aid?
just like look in the crystal ball and look 15 years out in the future and be like, how did it go? Here to tell you, we're the crystal ball vision coming out of the crystal ball. Like, it went freaking great. Like, it's awesome.
Oh,
So yeah,
yeah.
it's amazing. And just tracking every bit of the journey. And then also, Wendy and I, especially you, Wendy, because, you decided to like dedicate your life and your work and all the learning around it into everything just comes back to all of this that's in the book and everything that we put into our family. And it's like, we can just tell you wholeheartedly, like, it's been an amazing 15 years. And
Yeah.
I think it's just like it's a pat on everyone's back here. 'Cause it's, it's tough to be faced with this, like, how are we going to do this when your kids are little, and you just hope that you do it the right way.
Yeah.
And,
The air quotes right
right
way.
I know.
Well, and I love that you say we, because this community really is one of the biggest reasons why we were able to apply this work so diligently, because me becoming a teacher and leading this community for the last decade now, Fresh Start Family, I think turns 9 this year, but leading this community, when you become a teacher, we have our next high-level certification program called our Full Mastery Program, or Become a Parenting Coach. It launches in September, where we'll have a new cohort of parents go through that and become certified in the Fresh Start Family approach. But one of the coolest things is when you become a teacher, you are able to apply the work in your own home so much more because you have this like extra level of accountability. So if you're
Mhm.
going to share this message with the world, whether you're sharing it in a volunteer format, whether you're just like volunteering at your church to teach or in your school system, or you're like really taking private sessions or creating a program where you're going to teach other families this body of work, it really keeps you accountable. So this community has, I think, held us up. And every time we've fallen backwards or made a mistake, which again is mostly on me, I just come right into the community and I tell them, hey, gosh, I reverted. I went backwards. Or I can think of, a few moments where I did kind of revert to the threat and the punishment. I never like really followed through, which is kind of funny, right? Because it goes against everything I stand for. But it was pivotal moments where I got to come into the community. There's one in particular when Stella was like 12 that I'm thinking of. And I got to come into the community and go, guys, here, let me share this story with you because I just want to remind you, I've been doing this for a long time and I still have a nervous system that reverted back to, I'm just going to punish and that's going to fix this. And then it went horribly wrong. And I was able to stop myself, thank God, before I truly followed through with it and repair the relationship with Stella. But yeah, just being able to share in the journey with the community has been huge. So thank you, listeners. Thank you to our Fresh Start Experience students and our foundations course students and our highest level full mastery students. You have really been part of this journey. But I do think back to those early days. We were actually just talking about it today because Stella played in a volleyball tournament with one of her best buddies who she's been best buds with since birth. TT, her name's Taryn, but we call her TT. And we shared a nanny when we first had Stella and I was still in corporate. And I remember we were saying this week that how wild is it that TT's parents were actually the first people who introduced us to this style of parenting. So firm and kind, connection-based parenting. TT's parents they had her in like a little, I think it was like a 1 day a week or something school program called Hannah Financial. Hannah Financial? Yeah, I think that's what it's called in Solana Beach, California. And they had a teacher come in and teach redirecting children's behavior. And they brought home this flyer, and it was like a flyer about praise versus encouragement. And I remember reading it, and they were like, hey, we're taking this program and it's so cool, but like, here's a concept. And they gave it to our nanny and us to read through. And we laughed at it. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
We were like, what do you
We were
mean?
those people.
We were like, what do you mean you're not supposed to say to your kid, good job? Like, that's kind of stupid. And then as time went on, and obviously we dove into the work, we took our own classes, and then I became certified. But I realized that that particular concept, learning to encourage your kids versus praise, is one of the most important concepts and tools that we teach. Because as we've watched our kids go on to be able to, like, if they get straight A's, like, they will say to us, Mom and Dad, guess what? Got straight A's. I am so proud of myself. Or they'll say, I am so inspired by myself. They don't look to us for approval, and they don't like wait for us to be like, good job, you're such a good girl, now you get a $20 bill. Like, you can tell that they have really, from that one particular concept that we teach in the book, that we teach in our programs, it has made such a difference for them to pull on their inner confidence and their own inner drive and inner motivation, which we call intrinsic motivation, versus external approval from others. So just funny to think back to 15
Yeah,
years
the
ago
OG parents that introduced us. And yeah, it's funny
that
that
would have been 17 years ago, actually.
and we both had a similar reaction. And so wherever, I mean, listeners, wherever you're at in your journey, you might be kind of seeing the title of this episode, and that is your reaction. Like, what do you mean? What? Like,
Right.
punishment, 15 years? And like, or maybe you're new on the journey and you're like, this is still a radical concept, but I'm doing it. Or maybe you're a little further down the road and you're like, you're nodding your head and you're like, yeah. And then here we are, just to say 15 years in, um, it's like a language. Like, at first it's a little clunky. You're a little like kind of insecure on how to use it, if it's gonna like, if you're gonna be able to be fluent. And we're here to say, like, uh speaking the language 15 years later. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And our kids are great, self-motivated,
Not perfect.
not
No,
perfect, but
nor do I
very
want them
close
to
to
be.
us. Very, we're definitely on the speed dial of like people to talk to about things, both um celebrations and also hard things. There's no real subject that's like taboo for our kids to bring to us. The relationship is super strong. The grades are great. The health is great. The mental health is great. Um, and we're just doing life together. I think that's the most important part we feel like we're connected doing life together. And that's where, Wendy, you point out, it's like, it doesn't mean it's always perfect. There's messy things, there's awkward moments, um,
Attitudes.
there's attitudes.
Teenagers be teenagers.
Mamas be momming, daddies be dadding. We all like have our things, but like we know at the end of the day we're gonna be okay. Because at the root of all of that, we've got such a solid relationship. And yeah,
Yeah.
I can't speak highly enough about not only just the courage to say yes all the way back then, but to just see it through, and then for you to like double and triple down to like keep learning and not just be like a casual observer of all of this. Like it's all in this book. So here we are.
Here we are.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. And if, yeah, we're kind of like, as we record together, we've been like diving into different chapters and sections. And in this episode, I really just wanted us to like fast forward to section 4 of the book, which again is all about compassionate discipline. And part 4 is called Grace-Based Discipline. The opening quote of this section is a quote from Frederick Douglass. It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. And I love this quote so much because I have the honor of helping so many families and parents, obviously, who are in their third, fourth decade of life. So much of the work that I do, especially with the high level clients who are in the full mastery program, but all of our clients are doing it to some degree. There is so much repair happening of their souls when they were raised with any type of autocratic or authoritarianism in the parenting, which again is the way most of us were raised. And there's different levels of that, of course. But if you had punishment, if you had shame at all, if you had disconnection when you made mistakes with your parents, if you had parents that were reactive at all, like it's just different levels of autocratic systems. But that was the way growing up. And it's like, again, there's so much of a paradigm shift when parents fully step into this program or this system of parenting, which again is firm and kind democratic parenting. But completely dissenting from punishment is really absolutely a necessary component, or else you will struggle to see results. And so I just thought it would be powerful for people to hear maybe just like a few of our stories today. Again, I write so many of them in the book, but maybe I'll pull out one or two to tell today, where we just want you to understand that like culture and literally everyone around you will look like you are taking freaking crazy pills when you decide are no longer going to punish your children. Now, again, there's going to be days when you revert and you're like, darn it. Like the story I'm thinking of is like Stella was having a meltdown one day over like not buying her friend a cupcake. I don't know if you remember this. It was her friend Avery. She was 12 years, or not even, she was probably, maybe she was 10. She was older. And she was having this meltdown that I would not buy the $6 cupcake for Avery, who was sick. And she had like a full blown meltdown. And I was like, that's it. I'm returning your Lululemon sports bra. And she was old enough to stay by herself at that point. So I literally took it from her. I put it in her closet early because she was going to get it for her birthday, like 2 weeks later or something. And I reverted to punishment. So I got in the car, I drove away. She was shaking, screaming, no, Mama, don't, please. And I never followed through with it. And then, of course, we did all the repair. But again, that's an example of like reverting, where you're like, your body is like, ah, and you just boom. You're like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to punish. But and not following through and then making amends is like stopping yourself in your tracks. And then she ended up getting sick the next day. I feel like she ended up getting freaking pneumonia that week, which has always been often our kids' stories. Like they will have the worst behavior, like right on the brink of them getting sick. But that's an example of reverting. And when I talk about 15 years of no punishment, I'm saying like we fully decided to dissent and believe that we can teach important life skills with dignity and grace instead of thinking we needed to punish. But most of the people around you, 9 out of 10, are going to still be punishing. So if we look at our kids right now and their friends, it feels like 9 out of 10 are, if they get in trouble, they get their phone taken away. If they make a mistake, they get in trouble. They get their phone taken away. They get their e-bike taken away. We've had different levels of
They're just not allowed to go out all weekend.
they're grounded. Obviously, our kids are older now, but then we look at our neighbors with little kids. When they get in trouble, they get yelled at. They get threatened to be spanked. They get spanked. They, like in general, most of the people around you are going to be punishing their children the entire season that you're raising your kids. So it really takes confidence as you read this book, as you read this section, where I really do teach you how to replace punishment with discipline. I teach you the 3 steps to building a compassionate discipline toolkit, which is self-calming, natural consequences, and logical consequences. But it just takes a lot of confidence to be able to be like, yeah, we're really not going to do it anymore, because the other stuff just won't work if you are consistently still going to any type of punishment tactic. And that is going to be timeouts, groundings, taking things away from children. Like one of my worst moments as a mom that I write about in the book was throwing away Stella's precious toy that she won from the grabber, that she still to this day says, I have trauma from that mom. And we kind of giggle about it, and we've done so much repair work, but I know that that left a mark on her little 3-year-old body that day. Um, but taking stuff away. And then these days, most of the punishment that you see coming from parents is technology. So what we have done as a society is we have created these devices that have such high levels of addiction to them. I mean, come on, we're all feeling it. Like we're the same exact human beings as our children. So if you've ever watched a show and like had trouble not picking up your phone during a commercial, that's an example of like, we're all facing this addiction, right? But these days, what we've done is we've introduced our children to these devices. We pay for the internet, we pay for the iPads, and then we might, a lot of parents might use it at dinner or car rides. And so the kid falls in love with this device. They get the dopamine hits. They build a low-level addiction from a young age that turns into a high-level addiction by the time they're 10 usually. And then we effing yank it when they do something wrong,
Yeah.
because boy, oh boy, do
Take the
parents
drugs away.
take the drug away, and they squirm and they squeal and they beg, please don't take it away. Please don't take it away. And creates such, oh gosh, it just like the nervous system spike is so gnarly. But parents do it because they think that's what's going to make a child learn the lesson, right? So, I mean, we just have seen it in the last few weeks with
Yeah.
one of our kids' friends.
Well, and all of this just represents areas where like you're lacking alternatives. So I think
Yeah,
the way to think about this is not like, yes, it is a paradigm shift. There is like a whole mindset shift, but I think just to kind of like ease you into the idea of like what you're doing by stepping away from punishment is just giving you other choices, other tools to use, other ways to communicate, other
to be
ways.
firm in your
Yeah,
boundaries.
it's yeah, teaching boundaries, like creating teaching moments that are related versus totally unrelated. But like the examples that you just brought up, it's like treating every single mistake as a like a hostage like negotiation thing of like, I'm gonna take this away if okay, we're gonna get into this. And it's like it's tense from the get-go. It's and sometimes it's over things that like in the moment, yes, feel like a big deal, but like if you're living your life that way as a parent or a child where like everything is that way, like you haven't left much space to teach or form a relationship. So yeah, I mean, this this way has just been like saying yes to learning more ways to add more tools to your tool belt, to not have to have every single interaction with your kid or mistake turn into this like hostage situation with like them and their technology, or some unrelated sports bra that's being returned to somehow teach a lesson about a meltdown over a cupcake that really is just a messy situation that
Yeah.
nobody really learns anything except for we learned. And the other side of it is like, well, that sucked. Maybe there's a different way to do
Yeah.
that. If only we had another way to deal with that. And
Oh my
so,
God,
yeah.
that day was like so awful. Like the things that came out of Stella's mouth when she went into the pit of like shame around her behavior was so awful. And yeah, that's one of those days that I wish I could take back. And it became pivotal in my work to remember why we don't do that, you know? Um, so yeah, it really is about expanding your ability to know just your options to do it differently. Because most people who are still in a punishment loop, they just don't know how to do it differently yet, right? And then once you learn how to create logical consequences that teach important life lessons, once you learn how to allow natural consequences to happen, where you can step away from being a helicopter parent, become more comfortable with your children actually making mistakes and learning life lessons, and the more you implement self-calming in your home and nervous system regulation for everybody, you start to realize, like, damn, this feels really powerful. So I'll give an example. Again, we teach you all of this in the book, but I'll give you an example of a natural consequence that I saw roll out recently that was perfect. So you hear us talk about Stella's strong will so much, and it has done such wonderful things in her life. Thank God, because of this work, we were able to build her strong will up and strengthen it through the years versus break it, which everyone, when she was 3 years old, told us to do, including the neighbor who told us just to buy the air quotes Christian book. It would teach us how to go back in the backyard and get the switch to hit her and break her will within a year, right? Like it was so creepy how everyone pretty much said the same thing. But we found this body of work, thank God, built her up. Now, this morning, we literally saw her off to go spend her first weekend with her new team where she's going to be playing NCAA Division I beach volleyball next year for a top 10 school in the nation, which you guys know that story. Like that strong will is the reason why she got that recruitment, right? Like, and of course her talent for sure. But the strong will also got in her way when she wanted to get braces. Both the kids got braces this last year, 2 years ago, which, oh my God, we're almost done with braces payments, Terry. We're going to get like our
Hallelujah.
life back. We're
Yeah.
going to be able to go out to dinner. Like, we're going to be able to go back to date nights once we get
Oh
rid of
my gosh.
braces.
Yeah.
Yeah, Taryn's done. Stella's on the brink of being done. But the dentist looked at her and was like, hey, I would not do Invisalign. Just so you know, a lot of kids end up hating Invisalign. And it can be really tough to get used to. And she was like, nope, nope. We all tried. We were like, Stelly, are you sure if you put the braces on, they can do them clear? You'll just be done with it by the time you're done. She was like, nope, nope, nope. Stood so firm, wasn't really open to hearing anybody's opinion on it. It was a heated moment, right? And I think because of our maturity in this work, we realize like, she owns this. Like she gets to own this. It's the same cost for us. And sure enough, she did the Invisalign and she kind of has hated the experience. And I've heard her say in the end, I just wish I would have made a different decision. I wish I would have gone with the braces and I would have been done by now. And we've gotten to come beside her and be like, yeah, like you learned so much from that, right? Like what did you learn, right? Like maybe next time you might want to slow down and consider other options more or not. But yeah, it's such a great learning experience for you because when you are blessed with this type of conviction and strong will, it will affect you sometimes like this. And after you make a mistake, or I wouldn't even call this a mistake, but it's a decision that you then realize, oh, I have to now live with the consequences. Only she can live with the consequences of having to have these trays for an extra 6 months or 8 months. We'll see how much longer it takes. But that's what she gets to experience. We knew that we didn't need to make her feel bad. We knew that we didn't even need to like force the lesson. Life did the teaching there. That's a great example of a natural consequence. Would you agree?
Yeah, and I think it also just points out too that we're all born with unique traits that can be framed up as a superpower in one hand, but also something you need to be mindful of like it might get
Yeah.
in your own way in other times. And so it's just learning to grow and work with those traits and those superpowers. And so she gets to experience both sides of that in those examples
Yeah.
you talked about. And yeah, I mean, and that's just a natural consequence of, it'll be a little bell that goes off in her head sometime in the future where she gets to pause and say, "Wow, I know I'm really digging my heels in here. Is this is this really the thing that I want, or am I possibly getting in my own way here?" And that was
And
one
and
of the only
may
ways to learn that. Yeah.
And she might be a little bit more open to hearing because, the classic strong-willed child, their ears kinda shut down, and so by going through this life experience, she might be more likely to actually listen, whether it's a spouse or a colleague or a teammate or a coach, and that is such an important learning experience that we didn't have to do. Like, that's just that's an example of what we teach you about it for as far as natural consequences, and they are the best type of consequences when you can let them happen. It's when life does the teaching. And then logical consequences are more when we get to step in and do teaching, right? So it's very different than making a child pay the price. Punishment, as we teach you in section 4, is really based on the past. It's based on making sure a child pays the price for their mistake. And a lot of times it comes with the conditioning or the limiting belief that in order to make a child behave better, you must first make them feel worse, which we dissent from that belief system once we step into this body of work. So instead, logical consequences use the 4 R's, which is when you're going to implement a teaching for a child or any next step of action. Which often the best thing comes with modeling, but we'll talk about that in a minute. You just want to make sure it's respectful, meaning if you wouldn't do it to your grandma and you wouldn't do it to your pastor, then don't do it to your freaking child. It needs to be respectful. It needs to be related, right? Like it actually, whatever happens, like it needs to teach the life lesson that represents the life skill it is missing from the mistake or the misbehavior. And then it has to be reasonable and it has to teach responsibility. So teaching responsibility is a huge part of it too, because you're trying to install the intrinsic motivation versus training a child over and over again to just submit to authority or do what they're told. And that raises an entirely different type of human being.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think that's so important. I mean, parents, I'd say write down the 4 R's. And I think that last one of like teaching responsibility, I think that's like a good one just to test against like all of these traditional like punishments that are happening. Like, is that really teaching? Like, is taking away this or this unrelated thing? Is that really teaching your kid responsibility? I think you'd probably have some like people drop in a comment to you is like, well, hell yeah, because they're going to remember that they're going to get the belt or something afterwards. But you're
Yeah.
just like, or are they just going to learn to hide whatever they did better the next time?
And behave out of fear.
Or are they just going to behave out of fear, which is different than being responsible for your actions and being responsible and understanding why um, you choose door A and not choose door B because somebody spent the time to actually like talk to you and teach you about it, not just say, well, if you choose door A, you're going to get burned.
Yeah. And
So, yeah.
sometimes, so many homes, it's not corporal punishment, which is someone asked me the other day, what is corporal punishment? It's like, it's spanking essentially. Not every home is like that. A lot of homes, punishment comes out in just shame and like the most intense tone of disappointment and disgust from a parent, which then is like disconnection is the
Mhm.
punishment, right? So it's like silent treatment, grounding, like just the lectures that are like, what is wrong with you?
Isolation and yeah.
Why would you do that? I remember getting that when I snuck out as a 13-year-old. And man, when we came home at 3 a.m. and the entire house of lights was on, I was like, shit, we are caught. And the lectures, I mean, the disgust, I can still feel it in my body sitting on that couch and having our parents look at us of just, and they all were there. They all had been called to our house at 3 a.m.
Awkward.
Megan's parents, Danielle's parents, and my parents. And there was just no level of what we teach, right? It was just all like, how dare you? We were so worried. This is awful. Why would you do that? Blah, blah, blah. So yeah. So coming back to just doing a different discipline versus punishment, I think one of the best examples, I do tell this story in the book, but the day that I dropped Stella off to go to band and she crossed the street, not at the stop walk, the
Crosswalk,
crosswalk
yeah.
that I wanted her to. That's a great example of how clearly clearly it worked and how effective the compassionate discipline was. And in to tell it quickly, I go into a lot of detail in the book, but to tell it quickly, most parents, if you're like, hey, I'm going to let you have pizza with your friends before you go to band practice, but I want you to cross the street here because it's dangerous. And then you see your kid cross the street where it's dangerous and they didn't listen to you. You can guess most parents are like, dude, um, you're not going to pizza again. I can't trust you. Some might even like take away the device or definitely remove the privileges, right? Like, you've seen the kind of awful things online where they like make a kid stand on the corner and hold a sign. I chose to disrespect my parents' rules. So they go to might go to
Ridicule, yeah.
ridicule, embarrassment, shame. Some, classic old school stuff is I will make a kid write 100 times. I will listen to my parents. I will obey the rules. I will obey the rules. Like, just classic stuff that is like, yikes. But because we were pretty far in the work by that point, and when I saw her cross the road in that way, I was like, oh, wow. Okay. And I was triggered in the moment for sure, but I was able by that point to have the nervous system regulation to be able to go home. And I think I actually even had like a speaking engagement. No, I think there was a speaking engagement the next night. But when we got her home that night, I sat down and I talked to her, and it turned into one of the most teary-eyed, beautiful bedtime discussions of like why we have such firm boundaries around safety, how hard it is from her perspective to have a family that is so air quotes strict with technology rules and safety rules around helmets or crossing the street or not having an iPhone till high school. And I just got the opportunity to hold space for her and let her cry and then find empathy and compassion for her, letting her know, like, I get it. Like, all you want to do when you are a tween is fit in. So it feels like death to be the kid that is like, I'm going to go in the crosswalk when you all cut through, right? Like, it just feels so awful. So to be able to find empathy and compassion and then say, and you're not in trouble. And of course, we're going to do some practice here to help you learn the life skill. And so we went back the next week and I dropped her off again and we did a redo essentially where we said, okay, I'm going to let you try again. This time I want you to cross at the crosswalk. And she ended up doing it fine. I went to the parking lot, parked far away so her friends wouldn't see me, of course. And she did exactly what we practiced, right? Like she understood the value. I had taught her about traumatic brain injuries. And then she had a new neural pathway that got paved where she crossed where she was supposed to. And then I think it was like a few days later or something, I was at a speaking engagement. I came home and you were like, Wendy, Stella left you a note on your nightstand. And it was one of the most beautiful notes I've ever gotten from her that was like, Mama, thank you so much for teaching me in the way that you do. Thank you so much for helping me learn how to help myself and others. And we do include a picture of this note in the book. I want to be just like you when I grow up. And just thank you for loving me. And I was like, dang, that's the end effect, like, of this type of discipline. And then, like, it was like a week or 2 later, maybe a month later, you were at a stoplight, and I'll let you tell that story of, like, when you saw her on the bike and all the kids pushed, you tell that part of the story, and then we'll wrap this episode. Do you remember this? Like, you were at the stoplight, she didn't see you, but she was
Yeah.
on her bike,
Yeah,
biking
no.
to school.
Yeah, and I remember seeing, like, kids, they, like, went to the other side, like, they were gonna cross on the, like, other side of the road type of thing, like, to go the wrong way.
Yeah, through, like, not adhere to the traffic
Yeah,
or whatever.
and it would have been so easy for her just to kinda, like, follow suit and go, but she just, like, she hung tight right in there, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, please, come on, like, do it."
'Cause she
And
couldn't see you. She had no
no, she
idea
could
you were
not see
watching her.
me, and she followed the traffic laws beautifully, and, so that,
At a
that
giant stoplight, right? That was El
yeah,
Camino,
yeah,
which is a super dangerous part of the road, and we literally have gone on to have 2 teenagers pass away in the last 3 years, within a half a mile from that spot. Like, it is legit, kids get hit by cars and lose their life, right? And, like, you watched her follow through, but it didn't include any type of threat, shame, to teach her that life lesson to adhere to the traffic rules so she could protect her life.
yeah, yeah.
I love
I
that.
love it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's huge. I'll end with that story. I tell a lot of other stories in the section 4 of the book. But it's just so effective when you become a teacher in your home instead of a correctional officer. And it just feels so good to now know that we've stacked 15 years of doing that type of teaching in our home. Our sons got to experience the same thing. His were different, but there's some big mistakes that he made that, thank God, because of this work, we were able to come beside him and build him up. So listeners, go get the book. Again, it is officially shipping. It is ready to get into your hands. You can order it or buy it anywhere books are sold: Amazon, Barnes and Noble, bookshop.org, which is actually a website that will pull from your local bookstores if you want to um, support your local retailers. But thank you so much. We're excited for you to get into this book. Every single chapter comes with actionable tips and journal prompts for you to apply the concepts and the strategies into your own unique, you know, parenting and home. And we're just excited for you to get your hands in there and get
Yeah.
your eyes reading it.
Yeah, so, easy to remember because you're watching the Fresh Start Family Show, but the name of the book is Fresh Start Your Family: Powerful Parenting to Restore Peace in Your Home. So Wendy, I'm just so proud of you, and thank you so much for leading the way, down this path, and that our crystal ball image of 15 years later, we have huge smiles on our faces, tears of joy in our eyes, and our kids are wonderful and are going to just, I don't know, they just give me so much hope for the next generation too when I look at each one of them and the light that they radiate and the ripple effect that they have outwards is amazing. All of you listening right now, you are also a source of that light and your ripple effect, through your family, through your communities. Our community is badass. So,
Yeah, it really is.
um, hold your head high. We just thank you so much for tuning in and listening and following along.
Yeah. Thanks, listeners. We'll see you in the next episode.